What better way to kick off the Christmas vacation than by making some delicious homemade pear butter? Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Rock and See Homestead. This is Marcy coming at you, and today is the first day of my Christmas vacation, and I'm kicking it off by making some homemade pear butter. We made some homemade pear butter at the end of the summer, but it was super popular and we're already out of it. So fortunately, before the summer ended, we picked up a whole bunch of fresh, locally grown pears from a farmer's co-op in a nearby city here in central Oklahoma. We were proactive, so we peeled them all, cut them up, and then we got them into the freezer because we knew we didn't have time then, and we thought we might have some time over the Christmas break. That's exactly how it's turned out. So today we're going to take you through the process of making your own preserved pear butter. And we're going to use the recipe in a book here that I got from my mother-in-law called Food in Jars, Preserving in Small Batches. And that's kind of exactly what we've got here. We don't have a whole lot of pears, but we definitely have enough to make a small batch of pear butter. And it's something we've already made and it's absolutely delicious. So we're eager to get started and to show you how you can do it yourself at home. One of the things I really like about this recipe is that a lot of the prep work is done ahead of time right here in your crock pot. So you get all of the ingredients into the crock pot, turn it on, and you let it go for the day. And then by this evening, we'll be ready to get that into the jars. So let's get started. I'll show you how to prep the pears, what we're gonna add in for this recipe, and how we're gonna get it into the crock pot and cook it. The first thing that I'm going to do is get the pears out of the baggies. I'm gonna put them into this metal container. I'm going to make sure they're chopped up a little bit more. We didn't really chop them, we just kind of sliced them into big chunks, and this recipe calls for them to be chopped. So I'm going to dump them into here, kind of chop them up into smaller pieces, and then I'm going to dump them into the crock pot and add the additional ingredients. Got the pears all chopped up, and as you saw in that last set, Lance came in partway through and handed me this awesome little tool, which I'd completely forgotten we had, and it sped up the process of chopping down the pears and getting them ready for the crock pot significantly. So that's what we're going to do next. I'm going to go ahead and put the pear mixture into the crock pot. Don't add any of the other ingredients yet. You want to let this thing cook for about an hour first, stir it up, check to see where it's at, and then the ingredients that are added to this come in later in the last hour of cooking. So we're going to get this into the crock pot. According to the recipe, we're going to cook it in the crock pot on low for an hour, and then we'll check it and see where we're at from there.
So it's been 4 hours and everything's cooked down to where it needs to be. At this point, the recipe calls for blending it or crushing it or mashing it with something. One of the things that we did, this time we did do this with pears that we had froze. So it was a little bit more runny and a little bit more juicier than what it was last time. So we did pull off some juice, just because we thought it may be a little bit runny. We just want to make sure the texture is right. But we are going to blend it, then we mix in the spices and we cook that for an hour. So we're going to use our handy dandy immersion blender. And this thing works awesome. And you just go in here and just keep mushing it, blending it until everything is nice and even. You almost kind of want to get it to like a real thick and real really blend it up like applesauce kind of texture. All right, we've got it all blended up and it looks really good. It's almost about the same consistency as like a thing of natural applesauce or something like that. Very, very mushy and delicious looking. So at this point, we're going to start mixing in all the other ingredients. Now we doubled the batch, so we've taken all the other ingredients and doubled it. But for one segment of it, it asks for like 1 lemon or the juice from 1 lemon. So we doubled that and had 2 of them. And then it called for 2 cups of sugar, 2 to 3 cups of sugar. So we kind of put that on the lower side. So since we have 2 batches, we're going to put 4 cups of sugar in it. I may actually go a little bit less, and then once everything's mixed in, I may test it and see if we think that's good. And then the rest we do have cinnamon, nutmeg, and ginger. And those are 3 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of ginger, and 1/4 or 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. And of course we doubled those. I'm going to put those in here. And then we're just going to stir that up. And the good thing about taking out all the extra juice, it gave us a little bit of room in this crock pot because it was getting pretty full. And once I get it kind of blended up, make sure all the spices are kind of incorporated, I'll go back through and blend it one more time just to make sure those spices are evenly distributed. So we got all the spices mixed in, and actually we did taste it, and actually cutting the sugar was the right choice. It's plenty sweet. You know, one of the things that when we froze it, we did mix in some sugar and some other preservatives into the fruit before we froze it. So it already had some sugar on it, so I think that's why I didn't need as much. But at this point, we got to cook it for 1 more hour. So the recipe did say to put something over here to lift up the lid so it lets out steam. So we just use a little wooden spatula spoon deal. And at that point, we're just going to leave it here for another hour. And then after that, it just comes down to canning it.
Our pear butter mixture is just about ready to go. So we're going on to the next phase, which is trying to get the jars prepared and ready to can the pear butter mixture. So we've got a couple of different sizes here. We're going to do 1/2 pints, and we're also going to do these little 1/4 pints because this pear butter has been something that people are really excited about, and we'd love to share this with some of our friends and family. So we thought giving them a little sample size, the little 1/4 pint might be great, and then we'll also have some 1/2 pint sizes as well. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and get some water boiling here on the stove, and in this pot right here, we're going to put the jars, the bands, and the lids in here, and we're going to boil them, basically sterilize them. And then we're going to slide the whole thing into the oven on a really low heat to kind of keep them warm. That way, while we're getting other things ready, they don't cool down, because we want to go ahead and put the pear butter into the jars while they're still warm. So that's what this pan is for. This pan is the one that we're actually going to water bath them in and preserve them. So first things first, this one, and getting everything sterilized, and then we'll show you how we're going to get the pear butter into the jars. We've got some tools that we are going to use to do that, and then we'll give you a little closer up view of how it looks to go ahead and put them into a water bath and get them preserved.
All right, we got the water boiling. Now we're just going to put the jars in the hot water, let them boil for a while, get them all sterilized. Ooh, that's hot. That was hot. That was hot. I'm using these little jar clamps so I don't drop them, break them. Trying to get them tipped over in there. There we go. Okay, the jars have been boiled, they've been sanitized, and we're just going to take them out, and then we're going to put them in the oven at a low temperature just to keep them warm while everything else is heating up, and we get the rest of the jars prepped and ready, plus the lids. Okay, we got our water bath water ready to go, so let's show you what's next. Just gonna fill these up a little bit here. Kind of see how our headroom is. If I need to add some, I can in a little bit. We're gonna do some quarter pints and some half pints. Since some of these are going to be used for gifts, well, quarter pints are great for that. So now we got them all filled up. So now we're just going to wipe down the rims of the jars. Once we get that done, we'll put on the lids and the caps. And what I'm wiping this down with is I'm wiping it down with some vinegar on this paper towel. These are a little bit warm, but they'll be okay. These stayed pretty clean when I was filling them, thank goodness. Man, I tell you, this smells so good. So now we're just going to put on the tops, and then we'll put around the rings. Now, these cannot be reused. You have to use new ones every time. The rings can be reused for those that are new to this process. And we did sterilize all of these. Even though some of these newer ones really don't need to be boiled, but we just like to do it because that's how we've always done it. We've got all of our jars filled. We're ready to stick in the water bath. So this is a water bath canner. These don't have to be pressure canned. So on this, you just want to make sure there's enough water to cover over everything. And these are small jars, so we can put a lot in there. Okay, we got all the cans or all the jars in the water canner. We want to cover it up, turn it back up a little bit so it starts boiling again. And at this point, we're going to set a timer for 15 minutes. Once that's done, we'll take them out, let them cool, and then we'll show you the next step. All right, 15 minutes is over. These are done. Actually, I want to take these. And let's see. Great thing about this canner has that little thing right there. And with that thing lifted up, they're a little bit easier to take off. So I'm just going to put these over here. And I'm putting on a towel. You want to make sure that you just don't put them on a cold surface after they've been in here, or the glass could break, the jars could break. That would not be good. All right, so they're all out and they're cooling. And at this point, what you want to hear is like a little poppy noise. Hopefully, I don't know if the mic picked that up or not, but there's these seal rings, or the seal tight lids. They'll actually suck down into it. You can kind of see that one's already done, that one's done. This one hasn't went yet, neither is that. So really what you're trying to do is make sure all of them do that. And then once they cool down, we'll actually unscrew the lid, keep them, just kind of leave them out for 24 hours. And at that point, we'll check to make sure everything is sealed up. If it's not sealed up, then you can put them in the fridge, or you can reprocess them. You just have to make sure that they are taken care of in that fashion. But we are looking forward to this. The house smells awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed and have learned how we did our pear butter. We are looking forward to these things, and hopefully some of you guys out there will be looking forward to them as well. If you're family members or close friends, you may be getting some of these. But guys, thanks for coming along. If you haven't joined our channel or joined our journey, the subscribe button's right down there. Click on that button, ring that bell so you get notified every time a video comes out. If you haven't caught us on Facebook or Instagram, those links are down below. But from our homestead to yours, have a blessed day, and we'll catch you on the next video.